So next we have here is types of games. Now for those who are excited, holidays is around the corner and Sony's PlayStation has just been released. And if you're wondering whether it's a good purchase or not, fear not. So the review is in regarding the Sony's next gen console. So let's see here. What does it say? So it looks promising because based on the article, it stated here that PlayStation 5 truly feels like a next gen console. So they like to use the word whole moment. So obviously it has to surpass what its predecessor has already done in terms of PS1, 2, 3, and even 4. Now the PlayStation 4 has already iterated to a PlayStation 4 Pro. Does it even surpass or even exceeded what it was able to do in the past? So let's take a closer look here. Now, based on the article here, it stated that it does make a bold statement that it is a next gen console. Now, based on the what I call this, based on three factors like they mentioned. So first is its incredible SSD. So meaning the upload speed of your game from booting up your console to starting up a game is significantly faster than compared to a PS4 or even PS4 Pro. And then another one is the graphical upgrade, meaning better graphics. You can play 4K in your games and it could run not just 30 frames per second but can go as high as 60 frames per second. Obviously, it's not just a console that you need a very powerful machine, but your TV or monitor has to be able to accommodate that advanced technology. Otherwise, you're missing out on the technology. Even if you have a 4K machine but your monitor is 1080p, then you might not get the best experience here. Now some have touted already that that it could run as high as 140 frames per second if it's on 1080p here. Now, obviously, the main caveat here is this better than a typical PC or desktop game? Whether you buy the best specifications, compare it to a console, whether it's Xbox or Sony PlayStation here. Now, obviously, based on what the specs here, which we'll take a look here in a bit, so in it or inside the CPU has 8 cores, so way significant that typical laptops or desktops that we have here. Typically, you start up with 4. Now it's common 6 cores. Then obviously as you go higher, more cores, better performance for your console in this case. Then it has 36 CUDA cores for your GPU. It's touted slightly lower than compared to Microsoft's. That's a little over 10 teraflops, meaning better graphics, and it has 16 gigs of memory, so you could multitask easily and transfer games easily as well. Now obviously one of the downside of this game is, or the console, is it has less than 1 terabyte of storage. Now obviously 1 terabyte may sound a lot, but if with the games that's being installed is in the 10s or even 20s or even the high 50s, it could easily fill up in no time at all. Now, one of the advantages of the console here is they're giving you the option to expand your storages using NVMe SSD slot, which is a very fast transfer of data here. And obviously, if you use the typical, what do you call this, console, it has 4K Blu-ray player here. Now, obviously, for a $400, $500 console, it's way cheaper compared to if you were to assemble it by yourself with a PC parts. So a high-end graphics card, which it has, can outperform any CPU that's already available in the market, which is faster. Now, obviously, one of the downsides here, if you're talking of, let's see here, when you're talking of next gen here, it's only as good as the current here, because not like in the PC, come next year, they'll be updating their products in terms of processors, graphics cards, and so forth. But not like gaming consoles. It's going to take some time or years before they even have a refresh of the PS5 or even go to the next generation, which is PS6. I don't know if they would change the naming here. Anyway, Now, obviously, one of the big advantages that consoles are pushing is not just the hardware itself, but the game itself, the fast transition here. Yeah, so the big features that it's boasting is the new UI. So I've seen in some videos, people are touting it has a better experience. Obviously, it looks different than the PS4, and obviously the super fast loading is one of its big advantages here. Now, obviously, is it a big deal? From 1 minute to 30 seconds, it cuts some into half the loading time. I think I watched one of the videos provided from the next Spider-Man Miles Morales, wherein from the loading screen to the actual game, it took only several what do you call this, several seconds to load, which is kind of interesting. But again, is it those things enough for you to buy the next gen console? So based on the article, so they're stating that obviously it's not just the hardware, also they have the DualSense controller, which has haptic motors, meaning it's nuanced enough to convey the feelings of footsteps on different surfaces. So it gives you a different sensation when you're using the control. Obviously, in previous controllers, it has rumble features, but it's more sensitive in a sense. And I think one of the videos I saw when they were playing, what was the game? Yeah, Astro's Playroom showcased this game as a good point. So other game developers can adopt this technology so that it gives you a more interesting sensation. It's not just visual, but it's also how you feel it with your both hands. And obviously, at the end of the day, it's all about the games, right? Without the games, the console is nothing. And obviously, with the release of the Spider-Man Miles Morales, it's looking good. And compared to the Spider-Man 4 update, then you have Demon Soul, which I saw in a stream yesterday. So it's looking promising. Obviously, better experience is always great. And at the end of the day, the games will always outweigh the cons in whether it becomes outdated and so forth. Next, we have here. Oh yeah, before I forget. So, are you going to buy the Sony PlayStation 5 now? Obviously, if you have a current gen PS4, if you have the money, you should get the PS5 here, and it's a no-brainer here, especially if you're a follower of Sony PlayStation here. Obviously, one of the downsides that was mentioned here is, it supports 4K, but it doesn't support anything in between, whether it's 2K or 3K screen here. Obviously, for PC gamers, this is a big bummer, but PS5 should have known this. It's not just 1080p that people have in their monitor screens, but they have 2K up to all the way to 4K. But you have to wait and see. PS5 will still have time to improve on their product.